Hi, I'm Ziva Mercer with Accelerize, and welcome to our advisory series videos. We've been talking about how to vet a solution, and we've been talking through several different videos about all the steps that you need to do to vet a good solution for your organization. In our previous videos, we talked about identifying stakeholder champions, the importance of mapping the workflow and gathering the requirements, the importance of creating a selection committee, and the decision criteria to help the selection committee with the choice of the vendor and the solution. Identifying target list of vendors, creating an RFP and the actual schedule so the vendors know what to do. And finally, we talked about a matrix to compare the vendors and the solutions. In this video, we're going to talk about vendor contract negotiation strategy. Now, the worst negotiation strategy you can do is look at about pricing. You don't want to bleed every cent out of the vendor. Pricing is important, but look beyond just the pricing. Look at the overall picture. Look at what everything this vendor and the solution is going to bring to your organization. So it's very important to look at both the organization and the vendor's perspective when you're doing the contract negotiations. So part of this is looking at the terms and conditions. You want to clearly define all essential prerequisites for the current and for the future. You want to define all services to be provided, including any hardware, software, and applications. The next important thing is compensation. Your total cost, your payment schedule, and financing terms all should be clearly stated in your contract. You want to define dates, the effective dates, renewal dates, completion and termination dates. All these dates are very important to be defined and respected by both parties. You want to address and identify any potential risk and liabilities. What are your organization responsible for, and what is the vendor responsible for? It is important to define expectations. What is for the current, through the implementation, and through the future. As you're going through the contract negotiations, as you step back, there might be some things that are really non-negotiable, and you have to identify which are those non-negotiable items. So for example, if you're looking at implementing an EMR system, having mandates met for meaningful use, ICD-10, or HIPAA may not be non-negotiable. So this may be a point where you might have to say, you know what, we can't move forward unless you meet these expectations or these compliance dates. So you need to be ready to walk away. Now, part of this is understanding what you really want and what you really need. Make sure you separate the two, because there might be things that you may want, but you can kind of work with the vendor to see how much they can meet your expectations. The next step is to create benchmarking and some time constraints. These are different areas that you want to define. Set any performance measurements that are important to your organization and what you expect from the vendors. Negotiate a fair and equitable penalty if they're not met. The next important aspect is to assess potential liability and risk. Assess what may go wrong, who will be responsible if mandates change, who is covering liability insurance, and who may take care of unforeseen expenses. The next step is confidentiality, non-compete, dispute resolution, changes in requirements. Make sure that all confidential information are kept and maintained. Put in a confidentiality clause in every one of your contracts. You need to define who owns the data at the end, and how are disputes handled, and what timeframes they're going to be handled in. These are just a few of the important things that you want to have in the contract. Now that you have defined some objectives, it is important to take all this information and just step back and really look at it from the vendor's point of view. You want to do a 360 view on everything that you put in there. How does it benefit you, the organization, and how does it benefit the vendor? Remember, this is a long-term relationship, and you want to have this partnership. So you want to really look at it, how it can be a win-win situation from both your organization's perspective and the vendor's perspective. This concludes our advisory video series on vetting a solution. We're going to be coming out with a lot more videos, so look out for them. Our next one is going to be on HIPAA and compliance. Follow us on LinkedIn for more blogs, videos, and all sorts of good stuff.